Ghost Rider. Oh my god, that start is generational.
Yep, that's me. I'm Lotte92 and I did the drawing. Hello everyone, Lotte is here. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking my top Gartic Phone Co-op drawings. But wait, what even is all of this? Quick recap. Gartic Phone is a browser-based online drawing game with multiple modes, and one of them is Co-op mode. You have probably seen clips of it on YouTube Shorts or TikTok, especially from Gartic Phone creators like ChiefXD or Wisebean. I actually join those sessions pretty regularly, so there's a chance you have seen some of my drawings before. So, how does Co-op mode work? We usually keep our sessions around 30 to 35 minutes, so we play 4 drawing rounds, with about 8 minutes per round. In the first round, the artist starts completely from scratch, drawing based on a text prompt given. This is where the foundation of the entire piece is created. Then, in the next round, other artists take over and continue building on that same drawing, adding details, changing things, sometimes improving it, or maybe sometimes completely derailing it. In this video, we're focusing on the starting round, the foundations, the first impression, the part that determines everything that comes after. Before making this video, I actually went through all my past sessions on stream. And yeah, it was definitely tough. Out of total 68 clips that I have been part of, I narrowed it down to the best 15. And today, we'll go through them one by one, and by the end of the video, I will rank them. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, starting with the first clip, Katana made out of gold. It's a pretty straightforward subject, so I focus more on the overall look. I set up a simple calligraphy style background, block out the katana, and establish the gold material early. I didn't fully finish the handle or the rendering, so the next artist has space to refine it. Next, hippopotamus in the tropical lake. For this one, I focus on the colors and the environment. I sketched the hippo shape and added some water ripples, but spent more time on the background. The idea is to let the next artist improve the hippo and add more details to the foreground instead. Moving on, a dragon flying through the sky. I really like how this one turned out. I focus on the perspective and color to make it feel more dynamic. The background is still quite open, so others can expand on it and add more elements later. Next, the greasiest cheese spool. I like doing food prompts. Here, I went for a more realistic approach with a top-down view. I set up the base, colors, and lighting, so the next artist can focus on improving the texture and the details on the toes. After that, yokai. This one is more about setting the scene. I sketched the structure, placed the subject, and kept the details quite loose. The next artist can build on the lighting and refine the overall look. And then, blue. For this one, I kept it simple. Basic compositions, simple background, and minimal details on the subject. It leaves enough room for the next artist to improve the textures and lighting. Next, Ghost Rider. This one was one of the stronger rounds overall. The lineup was really solid and everyone did a great job. For my part, I set up the base drawing. I think I might have done a bit too much here, but I kept it loose enough so there's still room for others to refine and add details. Then, a ballerina is reflected in the water as a swan. Really beautiful prompt. I focus on building a clear composition, placing the ballerina, setting the lighting, and leaving space for the reflections. About half of the canvas is intentionally empty so the next artist can develop that idea further. Next, sunshine in her eyes looking bright as never before. This one feels very open and creative. I decided to go for a close-up of the eyes since that fits the prompt well. I set up the lighting and base colors, keeping it simple so there's room to add more details later. After that, bath on fire in a forgotten city. Fire can be tricky to draw, especially in Gartic Phone. So I try to push it a bit more in this round, blocking out the flames and setting some structure. I also added a bit of foreground just to guide the next artist on how to build the scene. Next, angel flying through the cloud. I focus on the composition more here. I sketch out the clouds and the silhouette of the angel, then added some basic colors. It's still quite rough overall, leaving space for further refinement. Then, dark fantasy skulking. For this one, I kept things simple. A basic gradient background in the main figure sitting on the throne. Everything is still in a sketchy stage, so the next artist can focus on details and atmosphere. Moving on, Super Smash Bros. Duel. I'm not too familiar with the series, so I spent some time finding the reference. In the end, I focus on setting up the stage-like environment. I like the color palette here, especially the sky and the clouds. The space could be larger for the characters, but it still works as a base. Next is Galaxy. Simple prompt, but we have seen it a few times. This time, I didn't fill the entire canvas. I left some open space so others can still add elements and build on top of it. And finally, Chaos Knight. I kept the background very loose with a simple gradient. The main focus is the silhouette of the knight and the horse. From here, the next artist can expand, maybe add more characters on the backgrounds like some sort of army, or build up the foreground and background. Alright, here comes the part everyone's waiting for, the ranking. I'll be going through my top 5, starting from number 5 all the way to number 1, and I'll share why I pick each of them. For the 5th place goes to Hippopotamus in the Tropical Lake. I absolutely love this one. Love the colors and I like how the background done in such a limited time. I managed to get a sketch of the hippo done, so it became a very good base for the others to improve it. Tefref on the second turn did a good job polishing up the colors and detailing on the water ripple. Banana further improving the texture on the hippo and the water. And finally, Nia did a fantastic job adding the foreground and making the composition work so much better. At number 4, Dark Fantasy Skulking. I'm quite happy with how this one started. The composition came out close to what I had in mind. I layered down the color palette. The background is just a simple gradient, so there's still much room to add on. The Skull King figure itself is still quite sketchy, but I got the pose and the structure done. Nia did well adding details on the background and the hand. Boya did awesome with detailing the skulls, and Frostblood gave life to the background. Overall, a very complete round. At number 3, Chaos Knight. Now, the top 3, this is where it gets harder to choose. And I chose this one as I really love the composition. No, I'm not glazing myself, but I believe I did a good job on this one. I like the pose and the silhouette action. It feels strong and dynamic. The background is very sketchy. The person after could blend it more, and the night is not too detailed. Chief did decent, adding the lighting effect. With Lane added the beam glow coming out from the sword for some reason, and Kazuma added some structure on the background. I wish maybe they could add like some sort of army or some foreground details. If they did, it could be my second or first ranking. At number 2, Ghost Rider. Totally my personal favorite. I think the composition here is one of my best. I would have put this on the first, but the reason why I didn't do it because I feel the beast is occupying too much of the canvas, leaving less room for others to improve on it. However, I'm lucky to have a legendary lineup of artists for this one. In the second turn, Maupo did awesome with detailing the fire and the chains. Tefref locked in improving the overall detail, and Luna Duck with the finishing touch. And finally, at number 1, a dragon flying through the sky. Here you go, this is my top pick for starting rounds. The compositions, the colors, and the overall direction just came together nicely. The reason I chose this instead of Ghost Rider was this one leaves more space for others to build on, which works better for this game mode. The background is open and still empty enough. I have included the blue glow as a guidance to guide my vision. Chief on the second turn did really well, including a few dragons on the back. It's not much, but it's still a good addition. Maupo added the fire breath and background, and they look so good. And Johnny with extra few details to complete the drawing. So that's my ranking for the starting rounds. Let me know in the comments if you agree or which one is your favorite. I'll be doing the same for the middle rounds and the final rounds as well, so stay tuned. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye!